another edition of Morning Fuel. We're going to be talking about igniting great questions today. Joining me for this one are some of my dearest colleagues from days gone by. Rick Robinson, who is currently the VP of Innovation at AARP Labs. Hello, Rick.
Hey, how you doing?
And I got Matt Fischer, who's the founder of Align X9 marketing and technology firm out of Chicago, Illinois. Hello, Matt.
Good morning.
Each of you have awesome technology backgrounds, starting with our days at AOL and Digital City, and I know you all went on and hung out a little longer than I did at AOL, but a lot of great stories that we could tell, and probably share a little bit of that just as it relates to pushing each other to be great and trying to be better each day. And welcome Matt and Rick, and just want to toss it to you guys. Do you have any opening sentences? I got my mug, by the way. It's always good to fuel up. All you need is love and a dog. I just feel like for this time we need love and a dog.
Where's the dog?
Yeah.
Well, as a cat owner, I'm offended.
Are you a cat owner?
2, yeah. I don't.
3.
Yeah.
I got
don't
3.
like to talk about the second one, but yes, I'm a cat owner.
That's good. Good for you. Good for you.
My mug I carry with me. I walk like 6 or 7 miles a day usually, and I carry it with me. And, I view this as being the perfect mug. So of course Contigo stopped making it. The only thing that it lacked was a handle so that I could carry it with me on my walks. And so I bought these handles. I did not pick.
Very nice.
You don't get to pick the color.
Can we click to buy?
I think blue is good for you. Yeah.
Notification. This is an Amazon affiliate link.
Yeah. Spoken like true e-commerce. Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
I'm pretending to drink water.
What's in that bottle?
Because the reality is I'm drinking.
Tequila.
Well, there you go.
I don't want the audience to know I'm sucking on Diet Coke.
It's
a fact.
Whatever gets you up and rolling in the morning. So we go way back, 25 years, 24 years, whatever it happens to be, which I cannot believe that much time has gone by. And it just feels like, we think about careers and starting out, and, we met at Digital City, Philadelphia back in 1996. Yeah. And, some of the, I guess we'll call it the funnest days, at least I look back and think about it as being fun, just because we used to go out all the time and at lunch and think of new ideas and try to get them online. And, our goal was, of course, from a local affiliate for AOL, trying to put as much content and interesting content to engage users. And engagement back then was even not really a term, but we realized, I think at the time we were thinking about even the 4 questions that I have on the site about product and audience and unmet need and how are you going to make money, which we had started to talk. We had an ad sales team. But thinking about those ideas we would come up with at lunch and then getting them online, those are days I still think about today, and the ways we used to push each other. What are your thoughts on that? Hey, Rick.
I feel the same way. It's I think we made it up as we went along, which was part of the fun. There weren't a lot of rules. There were rules, but we pretty much ignored them. We also had I think we had a great boss in Jim Riesenbach, who gave us a lot of leeway. Jim's still out there doing good things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the fun was sort of a symptom of the sort of lack of guidelines and our desire to just do things that will drive people to spend more time online, which is today I think become kind of a negative. It was a Nir Eyal's book, I'm mispronouncing it, talking about, how do you engage and get people to not be able to let go. Facebook has gotten slammed for that lately. But that was what it was all about in those days. In the early days, in the very early days, I think AOL members were paying for, by the minute. So part of our charge was, how do you keep them online? It largely had to do with us competing with ourselves, but also really understanding the audience just by touching them all the time, so to speak. And the fact that we didn't have, I think, we didn't have automation and we didn't have a lot of intelligence, so we had to do everything manually.
I remember very vividly what that experience was like. And it was a really seminal experience for me, and I think for all of us, right? It's like none of us knew each other coming in. We were creating something really that was new, right? I mean, it was even new by the standards of a time when like there was a whole bunch of new stuff being tried. And like, I think I joined a month before I got married. Todd, I think you got married not long after you started. Rick, you had your first kid coming. And then both of those two things happened at once. You left to go get married and go on your honeymoon. And then Rick had his kid and I was left holding the fort, worked myself into a case of mono. So, I mean, like, you know, I remember all those things, that how great it felt to feel like we had permission to do whatever was going to work. But in hindsight, one of the things that I appreciate back then, to me, AOL was far and away the biggest company that I had worked for. And there was a lot about it that I didn't understand. It was the first time I had ever directly touched technology. And in hindsight, one of the things that was really great about that was, like, as Rick mentioned, like, there was only one metric that mattered. When we started, AOL was paid by the hour. Now, the plan for Digital City was always that there would be an advertising. It was hoped that it would be a media business. It would be an advertising business. But like, AOL gave us a spot on the most visited page in cyberspace. Yes, that's what we called it.
The information superhighway.
Yeah, every Digital City branch occupied a permanent spot on the AOL welcome screen, called the affinity button. And I mean, so the two things that I thought of as Rick was talking were, one, it was so great and clarifying to have that very simple single metric, but two, I wish that I had had a more honest assessment of exactly what it was that was being provided. I was arrogant about that spot on the welcome screen rather than grateful for it. And I think I would have approached what we did differently if I had been a little more grateful.
Permission. Jim and our management team, but just really, I think, giving each other permission to try new things, the three of us, and then of course our broader teams. But I think Jim set the tone for our ability to want to try, saying, let's try some new things, let's drive engagement. Just when even today, right? Like, what is the importance of permission as leaders? Because you're all are leaders in your own right. What does permission, mean to you and the teams that you direct and lead today and have throughout your careers? Rick.
Can I jump in? Right?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
So, I tend to be a little controlling. And so it is really important for me to make it like an active assertion to provide permission to the people I work with. And the thing that, I hate to, this is clearly going to be a recurring theme, but the thing that I realized is it's much easier for me to give them permission if it's really, really clear what it is that we're making. So like, if it's really clear what it is that we're making and how that's measured, then like, it's really easy for me to say, okay, go chase that. Like, within these parameters, like of what's right and wrong, go chase it. Get as much of it as you can, make as much of it as you can. And I don't mean money, by the way. Like, money is an output of that process if you do it right and well, and if you're thoughtful about it, and if you have an actual business model and product market fit. Little things. So it's like, to me, like that is actually that's a requirement for me to be able to provide permission. Is I have to get really clear about what it is we're trying to achieve, and then be able to like communicate it and get everyone on board with that.
What are the types of things that you do to draw that out of people?
Well, the short answer is I like to go through an exercise that takes us from vision to tactics.
Okay.
It's a little bit different than what people typically do. To me, vision is not about the company. It's about the world and its people. For me, it starts with the question of how should the world be different than it's going to be? Like, what is a way in which the world is going to be that we would prefer it was not, or vice versa, irrespective of who we are as a company, as people, what we do, what our jobs are. Like, forget all of that. Given that we are where we are, what is it that feels important to make different? And describe that in really concrete terms. And then basically weave our way down to like making sure that we have alignment between what that vision is and how we imagine that vision playing out in terms of the company. What is the mission of the company in service of that vision? The strategy is like the how are we, broadly speaking, what are the tools in the toolkit? How are we going to make that happen? And so it all sort of starts there, but it's all with an aim to get to the point of like, what is the thing that, like, how will we know we succeeded? It
Yes.
can't be money, because like when it's about, so like for us at Digital City, it was all about minutes, right? It was about plus groups, or how we measured them. I don't remember, where did we go to? There was a keyword we went to
The traffic,
tracks.
yeah, the tracks. That's right.
Or we would find out like how many minutes did we get, right? And part of the thing was, and we really pushed the envelope hard in terms of like chasing minutes, irrespective of like how aligned those minutes were with what we were supposed to be doing, which was like making local stuff,
entertaining people. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, and I don't have any regrets about that at all. But you know, it's, if it doesn't tie back to like, how is the world supposed to be different? How we know we succeeded? It can't just be about that financial measure. It has to be about something qualitative in the lives of customers. Or why are we doing this?
What are the types of questions that you use to get the truth, Rick?
Well, unlike you guys, and particularly unlike Matt, I think I'm much more right-brained, and I don't have a strong method that I follow.
By the way, that's what we've always loved about you.
Yeah, you can pull things over on me. Matt's equivocating. I think we have a lot of, I guess the phrase is psychological safety. So I don't think anyone on the team has any hesitation to speak up about just about anything. And that pretty much goes from personal situations to professional. And I think that's helpful in terms of how we work with one another, and also how we arrive at solutions or product ideas, or when we do quick ideations to determine, is there something we want to pilot? It's very, very open. Plus, interestingly, I work with a very broad cross section. I got people on the team who are 24, and I've got people who are my age on my team, and that creates an interesting mix. And there's definitely, not to generalize, but there's definitely different sort of innate approaches from different age groups, let's say.
Yes.
But it makes for a really nice stew, if you will. And so I don't really ask a lot of like specific pointed questions to draw people down a particular path. I generally kind of feel out the situation. What is the everything from what is the vibe to what do we think we want to achieve, and try to lead a discussion, or sometimes follow a discussion.
When we talk about good questions, and Matt as well, but I'll start with Rick. Just let's not lose sight of what's going on right now in the world with the pandemic and the economic crisis, and certainly AARP is playing a pretty important role in the lives of older Americans. So, Rick, like just some good questions that you guys are asking yourselves internally to get to the outcomes of living the mission there. You want to talk a little bit about that? Just some questions that you're going through.
Yeah, well, there's a number of things that we do at AARP, and at the Innovation Lab, we do that plus. But one of the things we focus on is trying to develop solutions, products, services that battle social isolation, independent of us being sheltering in place as we are now. Social isolation is really an epidemic in the country among people 50 and over, and frankly among a lot of teens. You wouldn't realize it, but it is the case.
Yeah.
So, long story short, when we were told to work from home, as an innovation team, we tried to come up with what is it we could do that would be helpful for all audiences, members and non-members. And we built, it sort of drew from an idea someone on my team had for a product that we're actually piloting separately. And we transformed that into something broader. And basically, it's a site called AARP Community Connections. And it allows anybody in the country or worldwide actually, to go in and either create what's called a mutual aid group or join one. And these are groups, virtual, that are set up for an apartment complex, for a neighborhood, what have you. And you can request food delivery, medicine delivery, or you can join in and be someone to help out. And then we've also got something that's tangential, but also part of the same product called Friendly Voices, which is hundreds of volunteers who've been trained to make outbound calls to people who are, stuck in their homes, or receive calls from people who are just lonely. One thing I think we all learned way back when we were programming content at Digital City, there's a lot of lonely people. And I don't mean people necessarily who are sitting in a basement by themselves. You could be alone. You could be lonely in a crowd. So we find that is something that we have been able to help out a little bit with these products. So that's been very satisfying, gratifying.
There are 3 questions that I tend to ask in series and then keep asking. And one of them is, so what's important?
Yeah.
And there's always like, everyone's like, oh, what's important is X. And then the follow-up is, why does that matter? That's a harder question. And then, but like often the first time they have a decent answer. But then the third one is just the kicker. How do you know? How do you know that that's important and why it matters? And that's where the wheels usually come off.
Yeah.
And if they make it through round 1 and they're like, I know it's important for these reasons, then I might ask a couple of follow-ups, and then I ask again, so what's important? And that process is both powerful and irritating. Always more for other people than for me. But that to me, that's the path to like the actual right answer of what's important. And then figuring out what's important and how to measure it is sort of at the core of everything that I want to be working on.
In the blog post, I write about creative tension and the tension that gets created amongst, particularly as we're working with clients and prospects, and even just internally, and even think about the 3 of us working together back in 1996. Jeez. And I think about, the ways you have to help people overcome that tension, because it's really a healthy thing to get a better result. I just want to get your thoughts. Either of you have a thought about that, and just as you navigate each of your lives, either personally or professionally, with tension?
No, I think I said it before. I definitely have a struggle with myself. I don't know if the people I work with on my staff feel it, but whenever we approach a project, I do tend to have somewhat of an outcome in mind and want them to arrive at that outcome. And that creates a little bit of struggle where I have to balance out saying, I know how this can be done because I've done it 100 times, versus allowing people to try to do it a different way and maybe come to a better conclusion.
There's a line from The West Wing. It's not from The West Wing. It's a line from Catholic theology. And the line is, grace is but glory begun, glory is but grace perfected. And that line always stuck with me, and I didn't know why. But what I have come to feel about why it stuck with me and what it means is, for me, my personal definition of grace is like the joy of creation collaboratively. Like it's why I like playing music. It's why I liked working where we worked together. It's why it's like when my life is going really, really well, it's always been that I'm collaborating with someone else to create something new.
Yeah.
And I've seen it work. And it took me the better part of 50 years to get to a point where I understood that, much like security, that security is not a destination, it's a journey. And so is grace. Grace lies in returning to grace. And the way that you get pulled off the tip of the spear of everything's great is from that tension, from being challenged, from being wrong. And the joy in that for me doesn't lie in when I'm at the center of the circle. It lies in finding my way back. So that's working with people, being with people who challenge and push me off the center of the circle in a loving way, and then are supportive as I wander back to it. Like that's a perfect life for me. So that's when I hear like dynamic tension, creative tension, that's what I think of. Like greatness comes from that place. It doesn't come from me sitting alone in a room. So yeah.
Good.
Well put.
Any final thoughts, Rick? Matt, that's going to be your final thought for the day. Rick, you have any parting shots or parting comments? I love that, Matt. I don't think we can get much better than what you just said. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, you probably just close on that.
Yeah, and so we all feel it, right? I mean, that was that was definitely what we felt back in the 96, 98, when you all went on to AOL. I went off to do my own thing for a while, and it's always good to come back around with people you've always respected and I'd say loved, and just fond memories of our time together back at Digital City. And really, it's like I feel like it's almost like an NFL coach in the coaches tree. We've all gone off and kind of done our own things and come back together and share some stories. But we've all kind of, I think, led a similar path of like marketing and product development and finding truth in the things we're creating. And I think a lot of it is rooted in that time we spent at Digital City. And I think we learned even then, when we didn't really know, say, what we were doing, is that we were in essence just asking ourselves a lot of questions, like, and to even Matt's point, like, why should anybody care about polling on the internet? And what does this mean for the world as we put this out there? So anyway, it's great having. Yeah.
As that's why they tell entrepreneurs to try to think like children.
Yes.
Because you're not tainted by can't.
Yes.
First time entrepreneurs. Second time entrepreneurs need to be thinking, what is the distribution?
Fair.
Yeah. Which is a whole other topic for another day.
Yep.
Well, it was great having my old friends, Matt Fischer and Rick Robinson, join me for this episode 2 of Morning Fuel. We hope you have a good day. Take care.
Thanks, guys. See ya.